Well, today, like Kevin was saying, we're going to be talking about Amazon Marketing Cloud, the Amazon Goldmine, hiding your data. Now, one of the things that nobody's talking about is this topic today. So I haven't heard anybody really talking about it. So tune in. All right. So, what you're going to learn today, you're going to discover how Amazon Marketing Cloud, AMC, evolved and why it's the most powerful data weapon sellers have in Q4. You're also going to see the hidden flaws in Amazon ads reporting and how Amazon fixes them with a deeper path to conversion insight. Now, you're going to learn the difference between retargeting and prospecting audiences and when to use each for your maximum ROI. And we're going to watch how custom AMC audiences can turn deal seekers and last minute shoppers into loyal customers and get an inside look at our audience builder tool and how it unlocks the over 125 audience types ready to deploy. Okay, now we have a little bit of housekeeping. This luckily will be on replay. A lot of times we do a webinar, it's not on replay, but you will be able to rewatch this. So in case you missed something, you can see it again. All right, in case you haven't heard, if you don't know Kevin or myself, we have this podcast called The Marketing Misfits. And we talk to some of the top marketers in the world, including, as you can see here, Neil Patel was just on. We had a person yesterday, which blew us both away, let's finger, with AI. But just check it out. It has a lot of really cool episodes.
A new episode every Tuesday. And there's
Every Tuesday.
about 80 of them that you can go back to and listen to some really good stuff.
Yeah, and there's their YouTube channel as well. So I have a newsletter called Lunch with Norm. You can pick it up at lwn.news. I tell a true story from my past. I turn it into a business experience, and then I give a lot of updates of what's happening in the industry today.
You also got the podcast too.
Oh, yeah, and I have the Lunch with Norm podcast. Yeah, there we go. There's a Lunch with Norm podcast on the right. So scan either the newsletter on the left, the podcast on the right.
Awesome. And just for some of you that don't know, most of you know that I have a newsletter. I'm not going to talk about that, but also back in late July, I started the Billion Dollar Seller Club, or BDSC. And this is a club. We have about 300 members in there right now, I do three things per month in this. Where one is a mastermind with me for about 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. Another one is one with a special guest that's a tactical guest. They actually get paid to come on and do this, so they're bringing A-level value, not stuff you hear everywhere else. And then another one that's an expert panel with three experts on a specific topic. And if you want to try it out, it's just $9 for the first month, and then it's $100 a month, or $99 a month after that. Coming up next week, this is going to be a badass session with three experts. If you've listened to the Marketing Misfits podcast, you know at least two of these experts from that, and you know one from the Amazon world. I have Joe Lambagida, who is leading the way when it comes to e-commerce and AI right now. I have Kasim Aslam. Kasim sold his agency for like 10 million bucks, or actually more than that. His percentage was 10 million, and he has the most data when it comes to AEO or GEO, whatever you want to call it, AI information. Like he's got four people tracking stuff for the last year, like manually logging what's working, what's not working. The guy's like a master expert on when it comes to AI and the new AEO or SEO for AI. And then we have Molly Mahoney, who's like just crushed it. She just headlined actually the last day. She's a keynote speaker at Go High Level in Dallas. So that's going to be an awesome one coming up on the 29th. And then next month, I have another one that's another group one where, fourth quarter is when everybody's messing with your listings and they're screwing around right before Black Friday and adding to cart and wiping you out or adding bad words to the back of your listing or doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I got three top experts coming on that on a seller protection panel, as well as several others that you can see here. So if you're interested in signing up, just go to that QR code. And it's $9 to try it out. You can cancel anytime. There's no commitment. And you also get a lot of other bonuses too. One of those that's for the club that's also now open to everybody if you want to try it for a couple weeks is that you can go to ecomOracle.ai or scan that QR code. This is my entire library. So all my newsletters, all 250 or so newsletters I've done, the Marketing Misfits podcast, the AM/PM podcast, all the BDSS events like Iceland and Hawaii, all the way back to the sixth one. I didn't go all the way back because some of that stuff's outdated. Includes all the webinars that we do. You can interact with this and talk to it just like GPT and have conversations with it. It has all that information, so you can pull that out. It also does my WhatsApp channel, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's an interactive thing. It's usually reserved just for the people in the club, but right now for the next 2 weeks, it's open to everybody. So if you want to go experiment with that, go to ecomOracle.ai or scan that QR code. Just one real quick thing, you'll see more about this, but a lot of you know I do the $1 billion Seller Summit, and some of you may have heard the next big in-person one is going to be happening in April. We're rebranding this event. It's still going to have a BDSS element to it, but instead of BDSS, the event is now called Ecom Mastery. The website will be at ecommastery.ai, and the event's going to be all about where e-commerce and AI converge. Tickets to this are going to start at under $500, and we're going to have over 700 sellers there. There's going to be an Oracle bar. There's going to be it's just it's crazy what we're doing at this event. There's some of the stuff is on the right hand side. I'm not going to go through it all right now. You'll see me marking this, but mark your calendars for April 8th to the 12th in-person event in Nashville. This will be the event of next year, and I guarantee that anybody that's been to a BDSS knows we don't do them like anything else. They're totally different, and this will be a total experience. We got some cool AI stuff happening, some robots. I can't talk about it. Even the name badges are going to be like next level crazy stuff. So just mark your calendars for that. And you'll start seeing a lot more. One other quick note before we get started into the content today is Norm and I have a Dragonfish. It's a brand new agency that Norm and I just launched a little over a month ago. We have 5 clients right now in a beta, and these guys are helping us work out some of the kinks in this. And once we get through this beta in December or January, we will open it up to a lot more people. And we have a strong waiting list right now. But what we do is we find that the two biggest weaknesses right now for ecom sellers that no one's really addressing is ecom marketing. Most people don't know how to do email. You have a list and you don't know what to do with it, or you've been trying, it's not really working, or you don't have a list and you need to build one. That's what we specialize in. So you can see we do 29 different things uh, uh, in this email marketing services. And then we also have one for AEO. AI is the hot thing right now. You need to be paying attention to this. This guy that Norm just spoke about that was on yesterday, Cornell professor, started several AI companies. He's like, this everybody needs to be doing this because you're going to be left with your pants down if you're not. So we're optimizing and doing all this AEO stuff to get you ready for what's coming and that get you leading the pack, not trailing the pack or not trying to play catch up. And we do 32 different things when it comes to AEO. So if you're interested in learning more about this or getting on the wait list, you can go to that amzmarketer.com/DF or scan that QR code. There's a form there with about 10 questions that you can fill out, and that will put you on the waiting list. So when we open this up, we will start reaching out to those people. We'll set up a call with you and explain everything in detail and see if it's a right fit, see if it's something that you're interested in that we can help you with. But this is some pretty cool stuff.
Hey, Kevin, before you go
Yeah,
any further,
yeah.
just want to make a note that if you do have any questions throughout the podcast, just put it in the QA section and we'll just keep the chat for chat.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Cool. So let's get into what you guys are all here for today. And we have a couple speakers. Our first speaker is Mr. Abe Chamali. Abe has been on the Helium 10 Elite. He's been on a whole bunch of events. He's spoken on stages. This guy runs a PPC agency. He's one of the top guys in the space. And he's a cigar smoker. And, as a lot of you know, Norm and I are doing an event in Tampa in 2 weeks called CMS. It's a cigar smoking event. Abe will be there with us, as well as a lot of other really cool people. So he's going to share with you a whole bunch of stuff about AMC. So Abe, if you're ready, I'm going to turn the screen over to you. So if you want to go ahead and share and bring up your slides, this is all you.
Awesome. Good. Well, thank you for that very kind introduction. And I've got a lot to measure up to with that intro. All right. So we start off with a screen share, right?
Yes,
I don't think I have screen sharing. Does it need to be enabled?
it should be enabled. Let me just double check here.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. It was hiding. All right. You can see my screen.
Yes, looks, yeah, I see. Can you go into presenter mode so we don't see the bar at the
Oh,
top?
all right. So it is
Full
presenter
screen.
mode. So it's presenter mode, but it's from Gamma.
Yeah, hit the right next to the blue button. There's a square. Don't go back. Yeah, see the square next to exit. Yeah, hit that.
Yeah. The other issue is that my
There we
screen
go.
is a 38-inch widescreen.
There you
So
go.
you're going to end up being formatted a little bit off.
Hey, Abe, can you talk up or put up your volume a little bit? We have a person saying your volume's low, and it's over here as well.
All right. How's that? Is that better?
It sounds a little better, yeah.
Is it very good or is it just a little bit better?
I think it's acceptable. Yeah,
All right. Let me make one more adjustment with my mic.
yeah.
Um,
It is quiet though. We're getting people saying,
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. You have that radio voice that's going to put you to sleep right now.
oh no, we definitely don't want that. All right. All right. How's this?
talk a bit,
Better?
and we should be good.
Are we good now?
Yeah,
Good.
you're good.
Okay, people are saying good. Yep.
Okay, good. Um, yeah, this microphone is so fancy that sometimes the AI that's built into it decides to not work right, which is not helpful. All right. So now that we are technically set up, I guess let's get into it. So first off, as you can see from our title screen here, we're going to be discussing Amazon AMC. Basically, we're going to be talking about what AMC is. We're going to be talking about how to use it in general, and we're going to be talking about how to use it in Q4, which we have started to be in the middle of. We've got a lot to talk about. And on top of having a lot to talk about, I am a New Yorker. So some of you might need to watch the replay at half speed, but we'll try to make it digestible all the way through. So the first thing we're going to start off with is just a quick run through of what the agenda is going to look like. The first thing we're going to talk about is the current state of Amazon ads and what led us to where we are now. We're going to discuss what AMC is. We're going to discuss how to use AMC for getting better data out of your account, how to use it for better targeting with your shoppers, how to win in Q4, and of course, what might be the glue that holds it all together, AMC plus AI. AI is almost like electricity, in which it is the thing that empowers everything else. Electricity powers our whole life. AI is coming to power all of our tech, and it is definitely a component here when it comes to this. Um, Before we get into everything else, for those of you who don't know me, I'll just give you the quick hello and introduction. I think a few people do, but not everybody. My name is Abe Shamali. I think that Kevin was just using this picture a second ago. Probably time for new headshots, but um, I have been doing this a while. I've been selling since 1991. I got online in 1999 with Yahoo stores and my own website. We migrated to Amazon in 2009. I launched my agency in 2018. And this year in 2025, we started Right Click Advisors, me, Juana, and Jeff Anderson. It's an interesting project that is in the first stages of taking off. We might get into that later, but really today is all about AMC. So we're going to start off like that agenda says with how we got to where we are now. And the best way to understand where we are now is with a little history. So I'm not sure how long everybody on the webinar has been selling, but Amazon has been around for almost 30 years at this point, and Amazon Ads has been around for almost 20 years at this point. They started out in 2008 simply with a product called Product Ads. It was very, very limited. It was just a way to get their toe in the water. 2012 came along. They started offering advertising to 1P sellers, to their vendors. 2015, all of us 3P sellers could start advertising, although that was still pretty basic at the time. 2018, they connected the two. 1P and 3P moved into the same dashboard that you see today. They just call it Amazon advertising. Whether you are a 1P seller or a 3P seller, you will see the same basic dashboard. Small differences, but really it is together for all intents and purposes. 2018, the same year that they merged everything, they introduced two types of advertising that didn't really exist before. One was sponsored display. For 1P sellers, they always had DSP. 3P sellers finally got sponsored display. They also introduced video ads. Today, we look at it as just a part of the flow. But in 2018, when the first video ads came out, It was really, really a big change to all of a sudden see things moving as you scrolled up and down your search. 2019, they launched Amazon AMC as a beta. In 2023, they introduced sponsored TV, which is one of the options you'll see whenever you click on Create Campaign. Now, as you saw a second ago, I have been doing this a while, and over this extended amount of time, even before advertising on Amazon, I have seen a lot of advertising programs rolled out. I have seen features rolled out, I've seen programs rolled out, and they are almost always rolled out with a lot of fanfare. However, in real use, it is very, very mixed. Some things are very powerful. Some things are very clearly not ever going to go anywhere. And most things are somewhere in between. AMC, now, not at first. In 2019, it was sort of almost not even worth mentioning. As of today, as of a couple of weeks ago, it has grown into something which is really worth an entire discussion. And that's what we're going to go into today. So, having gone through this, within all of this picture, where does AMC fit in? Well, in order to understand where AMC fits in, its own history needs to be dug into. So AMC's history, as you saw, started in 2019. It was a small private beta program, not really much fanfare. 2021, they turned it into an official thing as part of their ad program, but it really was only available to a very few people. It was real, but most people could not touch it. Most people didn't have access to it. It was for large advertisers, consumer brands with large amounts of DSP spend. And on top of all of that, you need to have SQL programming skills, which cuts almost everybody out. 2023 came along, which is 2 more years later. You see these increments. They have been slow playing it. 2019, 2021, 2023, 2025. They are working on this very, very gradually. 4 years after they started really introducing technical advances. AMC Sandbox, they went from a couple of months worth of data to over a year's worth of data that was stored in the program. They introduced APIs which let us access the data in a more direct way than simply logging into Amazon. And they started adding more reporting, which you're going to see has gone wild. 2025 is the year when it went from an interesting program that's growing into something that we all can and should take advantage of. The first thing they did was they went from 13 months of data sitting in there to 5 years of data. That by itself is an enormous change, but then 2 more things happened. The first thing that happened was they introduced an AI audience builder. Up until now, the audiences that we've been able to build still required SQL programming. You needed to have a program on your staff or find somebody to do that programming work for you. And every time you wanted to run a query, you had to write a script. Now they introduced an AI tool to do that. It is a game changer, and you'll see that. The other thing they did was just a few weeks ago. The audience builder was a few months ago. The thing that happened a couple of weeks ago was they opened access to all sellers. Almost every single seller, if you go into Amazon, you will be able to see AMC. We'll show you where in your, in the screenshots, but now every seller can use it. Every seller should use it. Most sellers don't even know that it exists. So you will right away be getting a benefit just by logging in today. So now that you've known the history, despite all of this, I haven't actually discussed what AMC does. So what does AMC do for us? 2 clear things. The first thing it does is it gives us data that we didn't have before. It sounds simple, but you'll see there's a lot there. The second thing it does is it gives us the ability to target buyers with much more precision. Amazon has a lot of ways to connect with buyers. Believe it or not, we can even go a big step further than what we've been doing up until now. And AMC is the tool that lets us do this. So the first thing we're going to dig into is the better data aspect. Right now, Amazon is a tool that is partially a black box, and it's actually illustrated by very, very old thoughts. So I put these quotes in here. I wasn't sure when to mention it, but they are absolutely relevant. The first thing some of you may have heard is the rule of 7, which is basically that a person who is interested in buying something needs to see a product up to 7 times before making a purchase. Amazon itself is a little bit different than this, but as a general rule of thumb, if you're buying a car, if you're buying a refrigerator, if you're buying a suit, almost all of the things that are considered purchases in your life, You need to see the thing up to 7 times before you'll be ready to make the purchase. This has been around since the 1930s. The movie studios started that with their advertising before movies, and it really has stayed steady as a known thing with a lot of market research. We don't get access to any of those other touch points, but that is about to change. The other thing that happens is simply the fact that we don't know enough about our advertising, even though we keep knowing more, is not a new thing in the world. It is actually literally a century and more. As long as advertising has existed, people have sort of not understood what advertising has done for them. There's a very big retail guy named John Wanamaker. In something like 1903, he came up with this quote. He said, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half." With AMC, we will get closer. All right. So, as we said before, Amazon gives us a lot of data. If you have spent time in the reports section of Amazon, you can see this drop down: search term report, targeting reports, placement reports, performance over time, search term impression. There's a lot of data here. And that's even before you add in date ranges and other pieces of filters here. Amazon can tell us a lot about what's going on. However, there is a big fat hole. And what's that hole? It's called last touch attribution. All of the data that we see now is affected by Amazon using a system called last touch attribution. For those of you who don't know what that is, it essentially means that 100% of the credit for every sale you see goes to the last time somebody touched something before the purchase. So essentially, if a shopper clicks on 2 or 3 ads, the last ad gets the credit for the purchase, but the rest of the journey, all of the other times that actions have happened, get 0 credit. What's the problem? The problem is, if truly a shopper has clicked on several ads, all of the ads that did not lead to the purchase, but the ones that taught the shopper that your product exists, they all look like wasted spend. And sometimes the look of wasted spend can be really, really extreme. For those of you that have spent good amounts of money on advertising, for those of you who have done advertising for a while, you almost definitely will have experienced a situation in which it looks like a lot of money is being wasted. You go in with a sledgehammer and you cut out everything that says 0 sales connected to it. And instead of all of that spend just simply being saved with all of the same sales happening, no, sales go down. Why have sales gone down? Because those things that you cut out that looked like zeros were actually part of the purchase process. Now with AMC, we have something new, something that never existed before. It is called the path to conversion. Right now, Amazon has always known what contributes to the sale. Even with AMC, with hundreds of additional ad report types, Amazon knows things that they will never ever tell us. But here, they're going to start telling us a lot more, specifically with this tool called Path to Conversion. What does Path to Conversion look like? Well, before we get into that, I'll just show you how to get to it, as you can see here for the screenshot. Once you go into Amazon Ads, if you move your mouse to the left, all of these icons fly out into descriptions. You drop down measuring and reporting, you will see Amazon Marketing Cloud. Almost every account that's here should have access to this. Once you click on that, you will get this home screen. The home screen has a lot going on in here. We'll touch on a bunch of things, but I definitely encourage you to click on all the other things that we don't even have time to get to. The first thing we will be talking about is this path to conversion. Right now, you would think that almost all of your business is a sponsored brand or sponsored product or sponsored display click followed by a sale. As we said, that's last touch attribution. But what we can do now, if we run with our data, if we plug in all of our campaigns into the tool, all of a sudden you will get information which looks a lot more detailed. It will look sort of like this. This is Amazon's test data. My data does not look like this across dozens and dozens of accounts, but in one way, it does look the same. So we would think that almost all of our business should be a sponsored product ad, because 90% of sales typically come from sponsored product, leading straight to a purchase. This should be 90% of our ad sales. However, in this example, it is not. 380K came from a sponsored product ad going directly to a purchase, but there are a whole bunch of other ways that are leading to purchases. Here you see double the amount of sales came from somebody seeing a video, then seeing a sponsored display ad, seeing another video, and then finally clicking on an ad, which led to the purchase. Amazon sees all of these three things, but they all count them as zeros in the other part of Seller Central. The place where you spend all the time, these all look like zeros. When you get to AMC, it looks like $600,000 in orders. That is a huge difference. Now, the qualifier that I will say is in this example, 90% of the sales are coming from situations that are not sponsored product to purchase. In my experience, it has been typically 50 to 60% of sales are coming with this path, and all of the other ones contribute to being smaller amounts. That said, what do we do with this? Now that we know that this exists as an additional piece of information, we can understand better what is happening with all the extra money we spend. So the first thing we'll be doing is understanding that, hey, this sponsored brand ad is not wasteful. All those banners that we run across the top of the page, they do actually lead to people learning about us and buying our products. All of the retargeting that we're doing with sponsored display, it is helping those purchases. We will all of a sudden know that those things are helping work. And instead of saying these are an annoyance, we will start leaning into them to help build these funnels out better. The other thing that will happen is, one thing I see with many brands is that they spend very, very little money, if no money at all, on anything except sponsored products. They just run keyword and ASIN targeting, and essentially with just that, they're leaving everything of sponsored brand, they're leaving everything of sponsored display out. What they'll be able to do now is have confidence that they can spend some money in those extra ad types. Let them run for a few weeks, run this report, this path to conversion report, and understand the value of what they spent. They should be seeing sales go up. Your ACOSs and TACOS might look a little bit different because, of course, this path number 2 is more expensive than path number 5. There are simply more transactions happening along the way. But the idea is that all combined, you should still be profitable and it should be increasing your top line. The idea is always, we want to sell more. We want those sales to be profitable, but we have to be sophisticated in the way we track that business. If we are not sophisticated, we will be beaten by the people who are. And now that this tool is out, now that people are starting to learn about it, more people will be doing these things. Everybody here has the first mover advantage. So what I recommend to do is, first of all, go in, fix your campaign so that you'll be able to pull this data out, run these reports, and start to work with them. It's really, really important. We have been seeing impact with the brands we worked with when we pull this data out and start using it to steer our spend. So now I mentioned that this is only one thing that they give us. The rest they give us is so much that I actually had to make a slide that is scrollable. We started out on the homepage of the AMC section. One tab over, there are use cases. You can pull out of Amazon. All of a sudden, when you click that button, you start to see a scrollable screen that has literally 120 different types of data that you can get that is not available otherwise. You should be spending time in there. You should be thinking about which match to what you do and what you sell, and you should start pulling out more data from it. The more data you pull, the more you'll be able to use that data in different ways. I would say for most sellers, 90% or more is not going to be useful. There are things about sponsored TV incremental reach. That's almost nobody. Okay. AMC SQL queries, you actually don't even need this if you're using the AI query builder. So there are things in here which are not going to be useful to you, but there absolutely will be things. So as an example, which I have been pointing out to certain brands, one of the reports that Amazon gives us is time to purchase. Is it over here? If we go up here, you will see that one of the reports that they give us is called time to conversion. And basically, when you plug your campaigns into this tool, it will tell you how many sales happened after 30 seconds after the click, 1 minute after the click, 10 minutes after the click. It goes all the way to plus 7 days. I think it even goes further depending on the way your data is structured. I know actually that Amazon internally has told me that in some categories, sales happen 180 days or more. Now, that is very much an uncommon situation. When is it 180 days or more? Typically, when somebody is buying furniture or when somebody is buying engagement rings. Those need a much longer time to purchase. Neither of those should be impulsive, unless you're in Las Vegas or something. But for everyone else, understanding how many of your purchases come quickly versus how many take a longer amount of time lets us understand how much we need to invest before we can expect to see sales happening from campaigns and how long it should take to make sales from programs that we might run for products. So there is path to conversion, there is time to conversion, there are a ton more things in there, and you should be living in there. Now, we said we have two things to work on today. The second thing we have to work on is going to be the AMC Audience Builder. Now, like I said, we started out with better data, and now we will discuss improved targeting. Right now, within Amazon, there are two main types of targets. There are more than two types, but two main types. The first type is keywords. These are the ad types that most people use all the time. Sponsored product and sponsored brands are the places where you can type in a keyword as you build out a campaign. As someone searches for those keywords or something similar to those keywords, your products will show up. You do those in sponsored product, you do those in sponsored brands. As I said, there is ASIN targeting, there is category targeting, etc. But really, it is keyword targeting. The second type of targeting is audience targeting. When you target an audience, you'll do that in sponsored display or you'll do that in DSP. And an audience targeting differs from keywords. Instead of using a term that you think people will search for, you look for a group of people which matches who you want to show your product to. It's just an audience. An audience is basically something you build out, and there are essentially two ways to build out these audiences. The two main ways to search for audiences, just like with keywords having multiple ways, within audiences, there are two main types of audiences. One audience is called a retargeting audience. So if there are people who have seen your product, who have interacted with your product, who might have even bought your product, you will want to show your products to those shoppers more because they have much more of a chance to purchase your product. If you are selling a supplement, they have purchased your supplement, you will want to show an ad to them right around the time they will have used up the first bottle of what it is you sell. If you are selling candy or selling food or selling all manner of consumable products, you will want to start to show ads as soon as they will have used up the first dose or the first bottle or the first jar of whatever it is that you're selling. The other times you'll want to do that is to nudge a person over the line to purchase. Somebody that might have put a product in their cart but not purchased yet. We know who those are. We want to show them more ads in order to nudge them across the finish line. Let them, hey, you might have forgotten that you put this product into your cart yesterday or a month ago. Why don't you finish that purchase now? So those are basically what retargeting looks like in an overall way. The other way of building an audience is with what's called prospecting. Prospecting are people who have not purchased your product yet, but they look like the people who have. With your thought process, with whatever data you have ideas about what purchasers look like, and you build out audiences to show ads to them. So if you sell baby shoes, you will run ads to new mothers. If you are selling kitchen gadgets, you will run ads to people who have bought similar kitchen gadgets, but not yours. If you are selling 10-gallon hats, you will run ads to people that live in Texas. There are a lot of ways to build out prospecting audiences, whether it's by region, whether it's by time of year, whether it's by similar product or same product. There are a lot of ways to do that, but the thing that is in common with all of those is they have not interacted with your product yet. Because of that, you will typically see a weaker return on ad spend than you do with retargeting, but it is a piece of most advertising pictures. Now, although these are the two main types of targeting, we've got, like I said, we've got keywords and we've got audiences, and then within audiences we've got a couple. But each of these two types, the keywords and audiences, they have pros and they have cons, and AMC is going to basically bridge the two. So what are the problems and the good things about keyword targeting? Well, keyword targeting is simply the most relevant way to connect with a shopper. You match your advertising with an actual search. If someone searches for Waterloo peach nectarine soda, if they type that in as a keyword, it's a good indicator that they want to purchase this product. You will be able to serve up an ad for this product if you're selling Waterloo seltzer. I mentioned that because it happens to be right in front of me and it's very tasty. But um, keywords really match intent. If your product matches your search and your search matches what the keyword is, when all three fit together, you will make sales. It is targeted, it is relevant. Now, what is the gap here? It's not a large gap, but it's an important one. We still don't know who the person doing the search is. And why does that matter? Because not everybody who does a search is really interested in your product the same way. So there are people, for example, who are tire kickers. We know that they don't purchase very often. They're doing a lot of searching. We know that there are people who focus on low priced products and you might be selling a high priced product. We know that there are people who actually bought your product a week ago, so they're not likely to buy it again, but they're still doing searches to just continue to see what's in the market while they wait for their order to get to them. There's 100 situations where people will be doing searches for things that are hyper relevant, but they're not likely to make a purchase. We cannot filter those people out. We also can't target people who are extra likely to purchase. Just like there are people who are not likely to purchase, there are people who are super likely to purchase. And if we know that their birthday is on Tuesday and they're searching 2 days earlier, I don't actually know if that's an audience, but it's a good example. We know that the person is very likely to purchase. We can put an ad in front of them at the right time and have a much better chance of an ad. We don't have that with keyword targeting right now. What's the problem with audience targeting and what works with audience targeting? Audience targeting is very, very granular. What we mean by granular is you can build out an audience that has a lot of detail to it. You can have audiences based on time frames and regions and behavior, and you can stack them all up on top of each other until you have a group of people who is really, really matching the exact user of your product. The problem is exactly the opposite one of sponsored product ads and of keyword targeting. The problem is it is not an ad which is matched to a search. So we don't know if they're actually interested in the thing at the time you're showing a search. You might sell baby shoes, and you might know who the new moms are. But the problem is you don't know if the mom actually searched for shoes or didn't. And if she didn't search for shoes, she might have 3 other kids and she's handing shoes down. She's never going to be your target audience. She has simply not searched for your product. You might have people who have purchased a product locally. They already own the thing that you sell. They have no interest in it, even though they are your target audience. You're never going to know this. So we really, really do want to match things to searches more than audiences. It is a better indicator of the purchase, but each thing has its relevance. Well, come in, we have now AMC. I don't think I shared it with audio, so I'm not going to bother playing the video. But if you search for this on YouTube, you will see the first video I have ever made on Sora. It is sort of funny. It basically shows this little digger over here breaking down the fence between keywords and audiences, and them going and mobbing the digger in appreciation. So how does it break it down? It breaks it down by building audiences that we can use in campaigns. I'll show you how to build an audience, and then I'll show you where it fits in your advertising. So how do we get to build an audience? The first thing we do, just going through the clicks that get you there. You start out by going to this home screen, the same one we've seen a couple of times. On top, you will see a section called Audiences. Once you click on that, you will have a screen and a button which allows you to create an audience. When you click that, you'll get a drop-down, create new query. Simple enough. Once you create a new query, you will get to a screen that looks like this. There are a couple of pieces of information to fill out. One is choosing an advertiser. Almost always there will be just one advertiser, although some people have multiple accounts. In some cases, there are phantom accounts that are just jumbles of letters and numbers. You'll pick your seller account. Of course, you'll pick your country depending on what marketplace you're selling in. You will choose a rule-based audience or a lookalike audience. A rule-based audience is typically going to be the retargeting audiences that we've discussed, and lookalike audiences will be the prospecting audiences that we've discussed. The next part is super important. It is crucial. You will be describing your campaign. Now, why do I say it's crucial? Because over time, if you are doing this with discipline, if you are doing it for many products, if you're doing this over a long amount of time, you will eventually build up many audiences. And when you get to the area where you select your audience in an ad campaign, if you have not named your campaigns well. If you have not named your audiences well, you will never find an audience you built thoughtfully 11 months ago. You will never be able to find an audience that you built even 2 weeks ago if you're building a lot of them. Having a naming structure which is clean, which is aligned with dates and products, is going to be really, really important. And the descriptions are going to be just as important. You only get 120 characters for a name. Sometimes that will not be enough to understand what you were thinking when you built this thing out. Auto adjust. Yes, you want to auto adjust for date and time simply because that matches Amazon's own internal systems. And here is where the magic happens. The SQL generator. This is an AI generator which allows you to bypass needing clients that you can add as condition, as layers. And you can start out with not just one, but you could put layer on top of layer. When I first looked at AMC, I sort of looked at it, and as soon as my imagination started to run, I could not even form a proper audience. I had to spend a good amount of time trying to organize a way to build thoughtful audiences. And what we ended up building was an AMC audience build out tool. Basically, what we did was we did the research, we worked with Amazon, we worked with other tools, and we built out a set of over 120 different audience types. We've got remarketing, we've got prospecting, we've got acquisition. Acquisition is different from these other two because it's typically considered also conquesting of other brands' products. Retention and loyalty, which is actually different from remarketing, it's more focused. We've got a whole bunch of categories here and almost 120 different audiences that you can build out. And we built out not only the audiences, but the way to organize those. So what we've been doing internally, what we've been doing with the brands we work with in RightClick as well, is we give them access to this worksheet. We teach them how to use this worksheet, and then they are able to build a SQL query, or not a SQL query, an AI query. You can do this yourself, but we will be giving you access to this worksheet as a thank you for joining this webinar. Once you build out once you build out an audience, you will take that question that you've built out, you will build a query around it. And this is sort of what it's going to look like. You're going to build a prompt which has all the details that you want to go into for creating your audience. You'll get a result which is SQL, but not only are you going to get the result, it'll tell you what it thought about. So it's going to take what you wrote in natural language. It's going to tell you how it built out the query. And you'll be able to check, oh, are these the actual things I wrote? Occasionally, they will not, and you need to fix the query. But most of the time, almost every time, it's been completely on point. This SQL is going to end up being copied down into a box at the bottom of the page here. You scroll up, you create the audience. You will have built an audience that we just named and described and filled out. And the last step is to use it in a campaign. If you go back to the campaign creation section of Amazon, in the new campaign page, you will see a page called bid adjustments. One of the tabs is audiences. Once you go to that tab, you will see buttons for increasing bids. You'll actually see a third button which says increase bids for audiences you've built, as opposed to the ones that Amazon has built. And then you'll see all of the audiences you've built drop down. You do have a search bar, so it'll be helpful, as you have many of them. But again, naming those audiences properly is going to be super important. Once you choose an audience, you'll be able to choose modifiers, and then you can structure a campaign with bids and modifiers intended to target this audience you've built out. So there is a lot there, but when you go through these steps, you will now have the tools you need to build an audience and run sponsored product ads to these audiences. So that's a key. All right. So now that you know how to build audiences, how do we use these audiences for Q4? Depending on when you're watching it, this is the middle of October. You've got a few weeks to figure this out, implement, and be ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, for the whole month of December. If you sell candy and jewelry, you'll even be able to take advantage of that right afterwards into Valentine's Day. But how can we build audiences for Q4? Well, one part of it is going to be, of course, being thoughtful and understanding your product and working through all of the world of audiences to think who might be most important. But what we have found over years of doing this is there are two primary groups of people that we find can be targeted effectively. So the first one is one that is based around events, which is Q4 and December and Christmas in our case here. And then there is an audience called deal seekers. I'm going to take these out of order. What are deal seekers? This is the illustration of how powerful Amazon's data is. There is a segment of shoppers and possibly even a segment of webinar watchers today that are very much focused on only buying things at the lowest prices possible. They look for deals of the day. They look for coupons that are in place. They look for Brian Taylor promotions because they know they're being retargeted after looking on it once. They know how to see what the regular price is. They will never pay regular price. They want the best price. Amazon knows who these people are, and we can build an audience out of those people. Now, why are we interested in these audiences? Because if we are running a special deal, if we are running a deal of the day, if we are running a lightning deal, a 7-day deal, we want to make as many sales as we can. And all of a sudden, we have an offer that these deal seekers will buy. They would not buy the product yesterday, they will buy it today. We want to make sure our ad shows to those people. If they see it the rest of the year, we don't have as much control. But the moment we're running a sale, we want to make sure we show our product to those people because that is the best chance for them to buy. We can identify these people and we can target them. And that is going to be the best way to get as many sales as you can out of your deal. Now, the second group of people that we'll want to target are people who are based around an event, people who are shopping for the holiday, and all of a sudden there's urgency around the holiday. Those are people we will want to invest a little bit extra into shopping into. Now, what I'm going to show you is a couple of prompts for each. So this is something we'll be giving it to you as part of the slides. There are essentially two prompts here for deal seekers. This is one which we've constructed, which has been pretty effective for us as we've run it with deals, as we've run it at the same time as deals. We're going to look for people who have purchased 5 or more lightning deals, either a deal of the day or lightning deals or prime exclusive discounts in the last year. We want to make sure that they've purchased at least 2 times in the last 90 days, which means they're active. We want to make sure they are relevant to us. So we're going to make sure they've purchased products in our category, but did not purchase at regular price. So this excludes people who have seen the products in your category but have purchased. We don't care about showing an ad. We don't care about showing an ad to them anymore. We always want to exclude people who have purchased because they're not likely to purchase again. We want to click people. Essentially, all of these conditions are people who have exhibited the behavior altogether of being deal seekers. And we're going to put once we have an audience that is built out of all of these conditions, we're going to show our ads to that audience. When it comes to last minute holiday shoppers, this is again going to be something here which essentially figures out who the shoppers are that are most likely to buy, especially as we get close to the holiday. So Amazon can tell here, I've had to play with this one a little bit, so you might want to play with it also. Sometimes it works, sometimes it throws off an error. Their AI is probably still refining how it understands what we ask it. But we want to find people who are frequent purchasers during the holiday. So, and also who are purchasing late. So we'll look at people who have made 3 or more purchases in the December 18 to 24 window during the last 2 or 3 holiday seasons. I started out as the 22nd and 23rd, but I did refine it to the 24th because there is actually a segment of shoppers who sort of realize that they missed the window entirely, but they are actually running to get something, even if it's going to be the day after Christmas. It is a significant bump that we've noticed in actual sales. So we make this an 18 to 24 day window for the month. We want to make sure they're currently active and looking for what we sell. We want to make sure they have engaged in holiday gift guides or holiday content. We want to make sure they have been looking at a lot of products. So essentially, if they've been looking and browsing and searching, they are actively looking for the thing. And we want to make it Prime members only because those are the people who can get their products in 2 days. If you have a product that you are offering to a person last minute that is fulfilled by merchants, it's very unlikely to convert. So you've got a lot there. What you'll do is you'll take one of these prompts. I don't think you should use them both at the same time, but you will take one of these prompts. You can copy it and paste it right into this section here. This is the same screenshot I showed you earlier. You run this prompt. it's going to take up to 2 minutes to figure out the code. It will generate the SQL and it will let you create it into an audience. We do know that this deal seekers was validated because actually I've built multiple times both of these, but like I said, the one with the seasonal occasionally throws off an error. With the deal seekers, 100% good. So we're going to build out that audience. We're going to take it. We're going to throw it into our we're going to start seeing it rather in our campaign builder, and you'll see it again here when you choose an audience. So there is a lot there in terms of um, how to build an audience to take advantage of Q4. We've covered, excuse me, we've covered the history of Amazon and their ads and AMC. We've covered the data. We've covered the audience building. We've covered using Q4 and audiences together to leverage the two for extra sales. And like I said, there is one last piece of glue to fit everything together, which is AMC plus AI. So there is a way to fit AI into all of this to leverage things even one notch up. That said, I am out of breath. I am needing a sip of soda. And this is the part where there are actually people who know a little bit more than me. Kevin, would you like to take this over from here? Or actually wanna?
Yes, I hope you guys can hear me.
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, amazing. So as you can see, I'm not in my normal workspace. Just landing in Guangzhou. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, but you were able to blow my mind literally with all the data that we showed you. As you know, I'm a big fan when it comes to advertising, but here's the interesting part. Everybody knows me for Cosmo and the AI stuff, but as always, we want to make sure that everything that we do, we eliminate the guesswork, right? And with AMC, Amazon helped us get one step further to that. When it comes to expanding, when it comes to creating new ad types, what do we do, right? And that has been so, I would say, on, as topic for every seller for so long with AMC you are able to close and gap that bridge. But when it comes to Cosmo, with all the learnings that we know from Cosmo and with data that we pull from brand analytics, we are able to understand how we can reinforce the signals in such a way that your product gets even more, I would say, relevant and suggested on the search, because AMC shows how people buy, right? You showed us, and it was the first thing that you presented today with the path of purchase, and Cosmo learns why. So when you combine these two together, you actually have, I would say, the weapon in order to make sure that you own the shelf and every ad dollar that you invest and everything becomes a strategy so you can eliminate guesswork and just make sure that you sell more. So let me see with the next slide. Guys, I apologize. My internet is not that great when it comes to being in China. I just landed and it was a big surprise for me. So, Kevin, if you can.
Actually, Abe, I think is sharing still. Abe, if you want
Yep,
to stop sharing,
sure.
there we go.
Amazing.
Should see mine now.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for the support on the technical. This is amazing. Okay, so one thing that I was talking, and I think it was at BDSS, one of the things that I mentioned was the power of getting your products recommended. These are, for example, two things that you want to make sure that as a brand, for example, what Naoki Matcha was doing, make sure that they use sponsored products in order to combine the products that are sold together, like the frequently bought together. Why is that important? Where for brands that have more than two products, it's crucial because you're actually improving your average order value. And when it comes to eliminating the spend, of course, you want to make sure that your products get recommended and frequently bought together. For example, down you will see the example on the matcha powder and of course the matcha whisk set. Now, if I were to be selling a matcha whisk set, of course, I want my products to be recommended with the products that are sold together. And of course, always is how do you do that? Well, there's a big concept between what are your direct competitors, and what are the other products, like the extra things that you are leaving on the table that as a seller you need to make sure that you utilize. And the best part is that Amazon does give us that data, and it does show us patterns, and it does tell us how we can reinforce these signals to Cosmo. Now, I've been talking about Cosmo for so long, and when it comes to Cosmo, we know that it takes into consideration about 30 million data points. One of those data points and the data that you can pull is from your market basket analysis. Now, in the market basket analysis, of course, you will be able to find all that relevant information in terms of how you can combine products together in such a way that you would get recommended as in these examples over here. Now, data, of course, is meaning. And as always, whatever you do, is it either you're launching, relaunching, or you just want to improve, make sure that you always take data into consideration and you leave out guesswork. And AMC is just one step more to that. Of course, when it comes to understanding Cosmo and all the data that we pull from the search query performance and the market basket analysis, that many of you, I know it's like, we don't really need that, but believe me, you do. And it's so important, especially when you combine that power on understanding what people buy, on understanding how they buy. And Abe just showed us that what you see as data and what we consider relevant for so long, well, we knew it wasn't the first touch point, but that's what Amazon gives us in terms of the last touch point that really mattered for a sale. But when you go back and you understand exactly what was the type of ad that triggered that order and how many touch points you had, and even the combination of ads that led to those purchases, that's when it's a game changer in terms of how do I expand, especially if I'm going after different competitors. How do I expand in such a way that my products will become relevant not only on competitors' pages and I win real estate on their pages, but how do I get to be recommended on complementary items so I get extra sales with minimum effort, basically. So Amazon hides the data, not anymore, because we have access to AMC. Abe showed us the power behind it, and you also have the market basket analysis. Now, from this, remember that by only looking at this, you will be able to create two very important strategies. It's the offensive and the defensive strategies. Now, the defensive is, of course, relevant for, again, those of you who have more than one product in their catalog, more than two, I would say, and they really want to figure out how it would be the best way to increase your average order value. But when it comes to offensive, that's a game changer, because that's when you will see the difference between targeting direct competitors and products that are complementary to your items that maybe you never even thought about how to expand into advertising or what type of ads. And of course, everybody will jump directly. It's like, okay, but sponsored product. But what if sponsored product will not necessarily be I would say, the most strategic move that you can do? And of course, AMC will be able to to give us that answer over here, because every click, every conversion, remember, it strengthens the connection with Cosmo, because Amazon learns, it personalizes, it continues to personalize every shopping experience for every shopper and connects your product to the right audiences. Another thing that you can get from the AMC data, and that is why it's a gold mine at the moment, because you're not just running ads, you're building Amazon brain for your brand. Now, amplify your ads. Again, remember, this is super important. Market basket analysis shows what your customers buy and what they mix and match in their cart together alongside with the product, because on average, majority of customers never buy only one product. There are combinations. And if you haven't done this before, it's something that I always suggest. Don't look at minimum data. Start pulling like last quarter, last month, and just make sure that the more data that you process, the better it is. And then AMC shows you how they got there. So in that way, you can create a strategy in which you make sure how many touch points you need for every product, right, or at a brand level, in such a way that you create those types of ads and just continuously repeating that element in which you drive them to the point of engaging with the customers and getting them to purchase. No more guesswork, you know exactly what you need to do. And of course, as always, make sure that you own the shelf, pick all the data, analyze it, and that was for me.
All right. Thanks, Juana. That was awesome. So what you guys have just seen today, what Abe started with was if you're not if that you didn't quite understand that, go back and watch again. The power of what he just showed you is ridiculous. And if you don't do this, you will be crushed. I will guarantee it by someone in your category is going to crush you. Because that level, what he was showing you in those prompts of where you could outline everything, I want people that have seen it 10 times, have done it this many times, I've looked at 5 lightning deals, I've done this and this and this in this date range. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and 1 year ago. The power of that type of targeting is I've been doing direct marketing for 35 years. Before the internet existed, I was doing direct mail. And that power of that targeting is ridiculous. And so you've got to get into this. And if you don't do this, or if you work with an agency or someone on your team, this needs to be a high priority today. You need to get in there and start playing around today and doing it. But what they showed you today is enough to get started. But if you really want to actually put some gas on this, there's some ways to do that. Like what Abe just showed you is how it's evolved. He gave you the history. He showed you the hidden flaws. You know, you got to be careful because like he was showing you, some of it can be a little bit misleading. You learn the differences between retargeting and prospecting. Probably a lot of you didn't even know what those buttons were for. You saw how these audiences, how you can create these different types of audiences to do powerful stuff. Norm and I are doing some of this with our email company with Dragonfish, where we can go in and we can find, if you're selling dog bowls, we can find 420,000 people in the last 2 weeks that have been searching for dog bowls across the internet, not just on Amazon, but across the internet. We can send them an email. That level of targeting this is kind of what we're doing in Dragonfish, but not on Amazon. We're doing it off Amazon and driving it to Amazon or driving it to Shopify or driving it to wherever, or Walmart or wherever it may be. I mean, Abe showed you that audience building tool. We're going to give you that spreadsheet as well. I don't. If Abe, if you could put that link in the chat here, I don't think I have a link to. Maybe you have a slide at the end we can put up that has a link to download that spreadsheet. If you had Google Drive or the one that you promised them.
Yeah, I think we're going to send it out right afterwards because there's also a video that goes along with it. So we want to send them out together.
Okay, so we'll send that to the people that are on this call. If they're watching the replay, how are they going to get that? If someone's watching this replay, there'll be like over 1,000 people watch this replay. How would we actually get that to them? Or is it just something special for just the people on the call?
Oh boy, I know that Jeff would probably say something different than me, but I will
Oh,
say that
we'll get to that in the Q&A. We'll
get
come
to
back
that
to that in the Q&A.
yes.
Jeff, saw him pop in a minute ago. We'll get him to pop in. But so you're going to get that. But there's 125 audience types in there. You get the full thing and how to actually use that and what each one of those does. So if you're ready to go deeper on this and you're ready to actually crush this and actually learn every little minute detail, Abe is going to be hosting a daily training next week from Monday to Friday, the 27th to the 31st. He's going to walk you through all this stuff, going to give you some more SOPs, some more tools, show you how these spreadsheets work, really walk you through it. It could be you, it could be the person on your team that does this, but it's going to be for an hour to an hour and a half or so every day next week. Everything is recorded. So if you can't make it, oh, man, Tuesday I gotta go pick up the kids, I can't make it, or I live in Australia and it's 4 in the morning, I'm not getting up at 4 in the morning every day next week. It's recorded, so you'll be able to actually come back and watch them later as well. And then what's going to happen after that is Juana's going to come in, and the following a week later, actually, she gets back from China. I think it's on November 10th, and she's going to do a training and take the Cosmo stuff. So over these 5 days next week, you're going to get your account ready to take full advantage of AMC, be ready for Q4, get this stuff up and running. You're going to fully understand. You may have some questions and get a little bit lost on a couple of report types and what does it exactly do? Abe's going to help you build all those out and answer all your questions. You're going to be able to dig deep into these audiences and start building them out for you. He's going to show you some other use cases, give you some ideas and some brainstorming. And of course, then Juana's going to come in when she's back from China and add the Cosmo AI to this and show you how to actually put these two together. So if you're interested in doing that, it's going to be $395 to do that. If you're interested in joining this training, so that's the 5 days with Abe and 1 day with Juana a couple weeks after this training. So that way you're fully up to AMC, so that when you get Juana's, you're like, yeah, I got this. I already know this. Now this makes sense. You're not confusing me, and you boom, boom, boom. You're off to the races. So like I said, 5 sessions with Abe next week. They are recorded so and replay. So if you can't make every one of them, you're not going to miss out. It's good to make them live if you can, because that way you get specific questions answered, and you can get your problem solved. And then you get that bonus AI session with Juana on November 10th. And that also will be recorded. So if you're like, man, that's the day I'm out of town, you'll get that as well. Don't worry about that. So it's just $395. But you know what? That's a lot of money with tariffs and everything going on. You got Q4. That's we want to make a deal for you guys that were on here today and actually give this to you so it makes sense. Because if you don't do this, I mean, some of you are going to go do this on your own and you're going to be okay. But if you have an expert, like someone like Abe, that's what do you say, he's been selling online since the Stone Age. So he knows this stuff, and he's been through all those iterations of everything. You have Juana, who won the $1 billion Seller Summit last August. She got first place. And that's a stiff competition. That's no joke. That's super stiff competition. And she'll be at the event in e-commerce mastery in April in Nashville too. But you're getting two of the best in the business, and they're backed with, some of you have seen Jeff Anderson, who has one of the top PPC. They're all three working together. So he's kind of behind the scenes, helping a little bit too. So the power of this is crazy. So I want to give it to everybody on here for just one payment of $197. And it's the first 99. We can't do this for everybody. There's about 250 of you on here right now. So it's the first 99. This will go out to the replay. There's like 800 people that registered for this, or close to 800 people that registered for this webinar. And then we put it up on YouTube, and I'll put it in my database. There's going to be a lot of people see this. So I don't know how long that'll last, but the first 99, you can get that training 5 days with Abe, all next week, with the replays and the SOPs and the full spreadsheets and all that stuff. The extra training with Juana when she gets back from Canton Fair in China, on combining that with AMC for just $197 one-time payment. There's no other thing. They're running this. This is not something that Norm and I are running at Marketing Misfits. So what will happen is, if you scan that QR code, and I'll put the link here in the chat in just a minute. If you're having trouble scanning the QR code, I'll put the link in the chat. If you're on your phone right now, you can actually just press on that QR code, and it will actually open the link. You don't even have to take a picture of it. You just press on it, or you can. But I'll put the link in the chat, and sign up, and then you'll get an email within the next 24 hours with all the instructions of, like, okay, this is the Zoom call, or however they're going to do it. They handle that. It's not a Norm and Kevin thing. We're just doing this on their behalf because we know these guys, and they said, hey, we got this. This is cutting edge. This is like he said, just came out 2 weeks ago. So you're going to be leading the chart. You're going to be first on this. And that's not marketing BS. It's absolute fact. And most people aren't going to be doing this in Q4. You're going to be at a major advantage.